So here we are again, yet another great Bible walking reflection. That's right. Here crossing the Rock River at the bridge, all these birds ahead of me, going from Rock Falls to Sterling. And one of the things I want to talk to you today about is the widow's mite. The situation is that there were many people who contributed heavily to the temple, and they contributed many great gifts, but as it were in the world's view. But there was a widow who gave what might be considered to be equivalent to half a cent. And the disciples asked Jesus who gave the most, and he pointed out that it was the widow who gave the mite. The widow that gave the mite gave the most to the temple. She gave all she had. Now, one of the points to make here is that you might be in a situation, maybe you're having some struggles in your life. Maybe you're unemployed. You've been unemployed for a long time, maybe for more than a year, and you don't know that you can contribute anything to anybody. And you think that maybe all is lost, maybe that you feel that you're worthless. Well, I'll tell you, when we look at the message of the widow's mite, you might not be a widow, but if you give your whole self to Christ and give your whole self to God for the sake of glorifying God, then you've given more possibly than somebody that's given a great abundance of their wealth. And actually, you have given more, I can just about assure you, than somebody that's given abundantly of their wealth. The situation is that the world often doesn't see it that way. If you are destitute and you give something, sometimes people, they see it as maybe detestable, even. That somebody that is so destitute would even be involved, would even be around us, so to speak. And that's not the right attitude, because there's no us and them, and there's only Christ and his body. The situation we get into often is that what occurs a lot of times is that people, they tend to segregate themselves. I know that a lot of times with colleges and universities and with many such places, that the plan is, as what students are told, that they go in there for 4 years and they complete a degree, and then they go out and they get some kind of awesome job or something. So if you go there for 5 and then you go to see an employer and look at getting a job, they might be asking you, what's the reason that you were there for more than 4 years? What's the reason? Now, if you don't give a good reason, they may just pass you on, even though you may be more qualified than the person that went for 4. And so, I mean, when we think about that whole idea of how people get disqualified just based upon suspicion, it's just sort of like, if you didn't complete in 4 years, then there must be something wrong with you, the world might say or think. You know, we don't know what that is, so we're just going to pass you along. Everybody that did it in 4, maybe they're all considered successful in the company, and maybe the manager doesn't want to take a chance on somebody that did it in 5, just because that's the difference between 4 and 5. I mean, hopefully you can see this is kind of some reasoning that doesn't make sense when you really think it out sometimes. To some extent it kind of does, but at the same time, there's a lot of problems with it. There could be many reasons why you went to college for 5 years instead of 4. In my case, I went to college for 20. So, you know, when people go to categorize me, they put me in a category of somebody that's a lifelong learner, you know, somebody that has many degrees. That's not always the best category to be in when you're trying to get a job. Sometimes it can be. Depends on the job. But the point to be made here, you know, when we discuss these things, the point to be made here is that you know, we get into some real bad sorts of discrimination. I'm not talking about like a racial or age discrimination or something illegal per se, but a sort of discrimination that disqualifies people that have, you know, done an honest sacrifice, disqualifies them, you know, because there's something different about them and everybody else. Now, when we look at the example of the widow's mite there, like, she wasn't disqualified by Christ because she only gave a mite, you know, a half cent pretty much. But everybody else, you know, they saw her and that was worldly, and you know, they categorized her sacrifice, as we assume from the reading, as sort of worthless, you know, and that's not right. It's not right at all, because she gave the most, and that's what we want to look at here. I mean, you know, the person that is maybe just barely able to do a job, you know, maybe they're giving the most to do that job, you know, even though they might not be the most productive employee, because they are giving all they have. And you know, that it shows as time goes on there, if somebody constantly gives their all, then they may be a lot more productive in the end than somebody that is just barely giving of themselves but has high performance as the world measures it. So, and when we look at that, I remember there was a phrase when I went to Liberty University that God doesn't call the qualified, but that he qualifies the call. And the idea there was, hopefully not that it was just about, promoting degrees and that people should pay for them, but that, if you're not very qualified, not to really worry so much because, God qualifies the call. So if you're called to something, then God gives you those qualifications. You have to go through the narrow path and everything to get those qualifications. But, God causes people to be qualified through whatever process or means that he uses. So he qualifies the call. And so when the phrase is that he doesn't call the qualified, what's meant by that is somebody that has all kinds of qualifications. They may not be the people that he calls. And, because, he's maybe not looking for the strong, but the weak. And one of the things that we can see from this with the widow's mite is that Christ really appreciates the widow and the mite more than the people that contribute great vast of wealth from their wealth. It's something that we need to look at seriously and think about and try to always remember. So God be praised, God bless. Have a nice day. And hopefully you'll enjoy more great videos. This is sort of an awesome place here, Sterling. And just walk from Rock Falls to Sterling. And there's some Muros. It's the city of Muros. So God be praised, God bless. Goodbye for now.